Celebrity Literature for Life here, bringing us a brand new video. This time around we got a new archetype analysis on Fortune Lady. Fortune Ladies, for those who don't know, is one of my personal favorite archetypes from 5Ds and has a very interesting play style. Basically, all of the monsters have a question mark attack and question mark defense. I believe the official term is that it's unknown, and basically their stat line is based on their levels, and every standby phase they go up a level. And that is a really interesting kind of play style compared along with their abilities for different effects and everything. They tend to be very banish focused and also have a lot of draw power. This deck has a crazy amount of draw power and a crazy amount of special summoning, so it makes for a very interesting rogue deck, and with its most recent support, it actually becomes somewhat viable as a actually fun deck that can actually do stuff. Beforehand, the deck was extremely outdated and could barely do anything, but with this new wave of support from Rising Rampage, the deck is actually playable and functional. So let's go ahead and get on talking about it. First and foremost, we got Fortune Lady Light. She's a level 1 Light spellcaster. This card's attack and defense are equal to its level times 200. During each of your standby phases, increase the level of this card by 1 with a max of 12. When this card is removed from the field by a card effect, you can spell summon one Fortune Lady monster from your deck. This card is the exemplary card for the deck. It is by far one of the best main deck monsters, and really goes to show just how the deck has a lot of potential for being really good in terms of what it works with. You basically normal summon this out when I got the field spell out, then field spell will banish her, use her effect, get any Fortune Lady from your deck. You can even summon another copy of her if you really want to, but that's not needed. And I just love how it triggers us off of any time she gets removed from the field by a card effect. So if you summon her and your opponent goes to negate something, you could, or maybe if you summon her while you got a board full of other monsters and your opponent chains Torrential Tribute, even though you'll lose your other monsters, you'll get her effect to summon from deck. Alternatively, there's a bunch of other ways you can make use of this, and it just makes for a really good all-comprehensive card to summon anything from your deck. Speaking of cards that make it really good, we got one of the new cards, Fortune Lady Past. She's a dark, level 1 spellcaster tuner effect monster. Her attack is equal to her level times 200, and in once per turn during your standby phase, increase her level by 1, max 12. You can target one Fortune Lady monster, banish any number of other spellcaster monsters from your hand, field, and or graveyard, and if you do, increase or reduce that monster's level by the number of monsters banished until the end of this turn, and you can only use this effect of Fortune Lady Past once per turn. Obviously, mainly you're going to be targeting herself, banishing Fortune Lady Light, and then using Light's effect to summon out a new Fortune Lady from deck. Alternatively, you can also banish ones from your graveyard, or if you really need to, from your hand, so that you can load up your banish zone a bit more and get even more pluses off of their other effects and stuff, and the other cards that they have to their disposal. And also, of course, if you really need to get to a certain level for going for their new Synchro monster. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it, but I would definitely recommend playing 3 Light and 3 Past. These cards go hand in hand together, and they are amazing. Typically speaking, how I usually find that it works best is to normal summon Light effect, summon Past, 1 for 1 out, another Light, and then use Past to banish the Light, and then just go off from there. There's other ways of going about doing it, especially since 1 for 1's at 1, but however, it does work pretty good. Moving on, we got Fortune Lady Fire. This used to be one of the best cards you could summon off of Light, and for good reason. She's a level 2 Fire spellcaster effect monster. Attack and defense are equal to her level times 200. During each of your standby phases, increase the level of this card by 1, and when this card is special in attack position by the effect of a Fortune Lady card, destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls, and inflict damage equal to its attack power to your opponent. So basically, you could just burn your opponent for game super easy. It's a really good card overall. I do only recommend playing 1 to 2 of it, really. No more than that, because her effect is rather situational and you want to be summoning her off of Light or one of the new cards. So it is a good 1 to 2 of, and that's about it. Really handy in time though, I gotta say. Next up, we got Fortune Lady Wind. This is the one that has not aged the best at all. Well, actually, one of two that have not aged at all really well. She's a level 3 Wind spellcaster effect monster. Her attack is equal to her level times 300, not 200, which is a bit of an increase there. During each of your standby phases, increase your level by 1. When this card is normal summoned, you can destroy a number of spell or trap cards your opponent controls equal to the number of face-up Fortune Lady monsters you control. This is nice. She gets rid of back row, and it's really just good for destroying. I could have sworn that it bounced. That's why I said bounces spell and trap cards. I could have sworn she bounced spells and traps. Pardon that miscommunication on the slide. But yeah, she actually destroys them. And yeah, it is really handy though, but I still say that she's really good only as a one of, really, depending on the format, because back row you just don't see too much. And yeah, that's the big thing. Also, it's on her normal summon, and typically you want to reserve that for light. If it was on any summon, she'd be a lot better, but it's only for her normal summon, so she's not particularly great for that. So I do only recommend playing one of her based on the format and how much back row there is. Next up, we got Fortune Lady Water. Oh boy, this is one of the best ones in the deck for good reason. She's a water spellcaster effect monster. Discards attack and defense are equal to her level times 300, with her base level being 4. During each of your standby phases, increase her level by 1. And then when this card is special summoned by a control a Fortune Lady monster other than herself or another copy of herself, draw 2 cards. This is a generic, just trigger draw 2. Doesn't matter how she's special summoned. If she is special summoned by a control a Fortune Lady other than Fortune Lady Water, you get draw 2. You just get a free. You basically get a free draw 2. So obviously this works really well with Fortune Lady Light, one of the spell cards that we're going to talk about here shortly. Their trap cards, Call to Haunted, Monster Reborn, all sorts of stuff. As I said, this deck has an insane amount of draw power, and it's super easy to special summon water, as well as also use their other draw cards, so the deck just is able to get so much advantage and just dig through its deck so fast. That honestly 60 card variants aren't that bad, because you can just dig through the deck so incredibly fast. Thanks to water and how much you can draw off of her. It's not once per turn, and that's one of the craziest things about this deck. It has very few once per turn effects, mostly because of when it was printed. Next up, we got Fortune Lady Dark. Here's another good way to get your special summons going. Fortune Lady Dark is a level 5 Dark spellcaster effect monster. Her attack is equal to her level times 400, and of course, she goes up a level every standby phase, just like all the others. When a face-up Fortune Lady monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can select and special summon one Fortune Lady monster from your graveyard. Notice how it doesn't include herself, and it's not once per turn. So, let's say you have her out, and you have another Fortune Lady who's stronger, because she starts off at 2k. That Fortune Lady kills something in battle. You can use Dark's effect to special summon water, water effect to draw 2. Dark kills something in battle. You can use her effect again, summon out another water from graveyard to draw 2 more cards. It is insane how much advantage you can gain off of Dark, and just having a loaded graveyard of Fortune Ladies. You can use her effect to bring out another copy of herself. It is insane how good she is, and just how much advantage you can gain. Absolutely wonderful card. Due to her level, I can only really recommend playing no more than 2, and honestly, personally, I usually keep her to a 1 of. But however, I can totally see somebody playing 1 to 2, depending on the build and everything. Great card, fantastic, love it. Next up, we got the other one that really did not age well, Fortune Lady Earth. She's a level 6 spellcaster effect monster. Her attack and defense are equal to her level times 400, and she goes up a level every standby phase. Speaking of, she has a very simple burn effect. When the level of this crit increases, inflict 400 damage to your opponent. Yeah, that's it. That's all she does. When she levels up, she burns your opponent for 400. That is it. There's only one reason I can recommend playing her at all anymore. The main reason why you'd play her back in the day is because, well, she's the strongest, and 2400, that can easily help you trigger Dark's effect to draw more, well, to special summon more, I should say, easily. But, however, to that extent, the only reason I would recommend even considering playing one Earth is because her with the level 1 tuner is an instant synchro, which is really, really good. And of course, you want to try and make the Fortune Lady synchro as soon as possible because of how good she is. So yeah, she's only really, I can only really recommend her as a 1 of, and even then, it's hard. It's a hard recommendation. So yeah, I can totally understand why somebody would pass her up, especially since the level 1 tuner is able to so easily alter her level to be able to hit the synchro. But however, you know, it's a very simple, just 2 cards. You don't need to worry about using the tuner's effect to banish and alter levels and stuff. So it is something to consider. Moving on, I gotta bring up Earthbound Immortal Eskilla Piscu, because technically speaking, she is considered to be the boss monster of the deck, as she was the Earthbound used by Carly, who played good old Fortune Ladies back in the day. And honestly, darn it. And honestly, Earthbound Immortal Eskilla Piscu does work really well in the deck, and the only real issue with playing Eskilla Piscu, sorry, Asla Piscu, it just dawned on me there's no C in there, Asla Piscu, is because honestly getting the tribute fodder is kind of hard without just mass special summoning off of Dark, so it is a bit of a hard recommendation, but I digress. What she does is, well, you can only control one Earthbound, there can only be one Earthbound Immortal on the field. If there's no face-up field spell on the field, destroy this card. Your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. This card can attack your opponent directly. When this face-up card leaves the field, except by its own effect, destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls as possible. And if you do, inflict 800 damage? I can't read it. The text is on there is really bad, but you inflict some amount of damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. Overall, it's a good card. It's not the greatest of the Earthbounds, but it is a good card for this deck, and considering what the field spell does, you can trigger its effect very easily. It is something to consider when playing Fortune Ladies, depending on your build and what you want to go with, but however, I can totally understand why you might want to pass up on it. Speaking of cards that you might want to pass up on, Solitaire Magician. This is a card that was made to support Fortune Ladies, but is not a Fortune Lady itself for some reason, and it's actually really hard to use in the deck thanks to the field spell, oftentimes preventing you from even using it when you want to. Solitaire Magician is a level 4 light spellcaster effect monster with 1600 attack and 1300 defense. Once per turn, you can select one face-up Fortune Lady monster you control and one other face-up monster in the field. Reduce the level of the selected Fortune Lady by 3 and destroy the other selected monster. It's an okay card. You get to pop a card for reducing your Fortune Lady's levels, which of course if like you target like your Earth, you can then start burning your opponent even more again. But like honestly, there's no reason to play this card. There's better destruction out there, and this card isn't even a Fortune Lady. If it was a Fortune Lady in name, maybe, because then you could special summon it off of the spell card or off of light, and then you could use its effect to pop something, and then you could synchro up or something. It'd be better, but it wouldn't be great. It'd just be okay, but no, because it's not a Fortune Lady card, it's not worth playing. What is worth playing, though, is her Synchro upgrade. Fortune Lady every... Hey, there we go. Fortune Lady in the name this time around. Fortune Lady Every is a level 7 Synchro Spellcaster effect monster. Needs a tuner plus one or more non-tuner Spellcaster monsters, so she is technically pretty generic. If you're playing a Spellcaster deck out there, you can play her, which is really interesting. I really like that, how they made her somewhat generic. Her attack and defense is equal to her level times 400, and then during the standby phase, you can increase her level by 1. Then, if you do, you can banish one face-up monster your opponent controls. During your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other spellcaster monster from your graveyard to spell summon this card. You can only use this effect of Fortune Lady every once per turn. And this is a great, fantastic boss monster. She comes out with a whopping 2800 attack power. When she levels up, she banishes a monster, and if she's in your graveyard during your opponent's end phase, because, well, of course she doesn't have any protection during your opponent's turn, you can banish another spellcaster to special summon her. This is a fantastic all-around boss monster, and I absolutely adore her for that. I also really got to thank Konami for not censoring her, because I don't know why, but for some reason Konami lessened on the censorship in this set, which is really odd considering we got the MS Paint censorship of Harpy Lady Conductor, which still bothers me to no end, but I digress. I'll take what I can get. I'm really happy that we got this card. It's a fantastic all-around boss monster, and it's something that I could even see getting played in other spellcaster decks that happen to have synchro plays. Just great overall. Play 1 to 2, depends on your build of it and what you want to focus on, but an absolutely amazing boss monster nonetheless. Moving on, let's get on to the spell cards, starting off with their weakest. Time Passage. This is a quick play spell card. Increase the level of one face-up Fortune Lady monster you control by 3 until the end phase. This is an okay card. Obviously, the big thing is that by increasing their levels, you increase their attack powers. This also can trigger Earth's effect to burn your opponent, which is kind of nice. But however, for the most part, this isn't really a particularly great card. The big thing is, you don't gain any real advantage on it. You use it, and it doesn't do anything. The big thing, is, and the reason why I say play 0 to 2, because I'm not entirely for sure, is that the Fortune Ladies don't have great attack stats, in all honesty. So I can see the reasoning for wanting to play this, but personally I'm leaning on not playing it at all because you're using a card and not getting any real advantage out of it. Not to mention it's not a Fortune Lady card, so it's not searchable, and it just doesn't seem to be worth it to me, but I've seen some good arguments for playing it, so I'll leave that down to you guys. I mean, I'll be honest, I can't force you to do anything. This is all purely recommendation. Moving on, we got Fortune's Future. Select one of your remove from play Fortune Lady monsters and return it to the graveyard, then draw 2 cards. Another pot of greed in this deck. This is an amazing card. Just absolutely fantastic. Not once per turn, just like with water. So you can just draw like absolutely crazy. It's so stupid how much you can draw in this deck. And yeah. There's no reason not to play 3. Just play 3. It's a pot of greed. Play it. Next up, we got Fortune Vision. This is another one of the new cards. It's a continuous spell card. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Fortune Lady card from your deck to your hand. Okay, any Fortune Lady card, by the way, too. That includes spells and traps, which whenever this card was revealed, we didn't have any, but we do have 2, which is really cool. From your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a card or cards you control is banished by card effect, you can activate this effect. This turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed card effects, even if this card leaves the field. Once per turn, if a card your opponent controls is banished by card effect, except during the damage step, you can make the next battle damage you would take this turn become 0, even if this card leaves the field. You can only activate 1 Fortune Vision per turn. God, the tongue twisters in this deck. So this is a really good card all around. The big thing is you're mainly using it for the searching. The 2 additional effects are really superfluous. They're just kind of there, and they're nice, but they're not. They're just add-ons. I mean, if this card just said when this card is activated, you can add a Fortune Lady card from your deck to your hand, and ended right there, I would probably still recommend playing 3. Actually, no, I would, because, hey, searching searching any of your cards is just absolutely fantastic, on top of all the draw power this deck has. So, yeah, there's no reason not to play 3 this card. The additional effects do come up every now and then, but honestly, they're purely just icing on the cake. Moving on, we got Fortune Lady Calling. Here's one of the main cards you'll be searching off of Fortune Vision. Fortune Lady Calling is a normal spell card. If you control a face-up Fortune Lady monster, spell summon 1 Fortune Lady monster from your deck with a different name from the cards you control. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot spell summon monsters from your extra deck except synchro monsters. You can only activate 1 Fortune Lady Calling per turn. This card is amazing. Just free special summon out any monster. So, okay, I control Fortune Lady, activate this effect. Special summon out water effect, draw 2. Hey, here we go. Or Fortune Lady Calling, special summon fire effect, pop a monster, burn my opponent for like 2,000 damage if I pop something. Oh, time got called, I win? Okay, cool. It's a great card overall. I can't recommend playing any less than 3 just because you are able to dig through your deck so much. It's searchable and it just helps you get even further into your deck. It's insane. I love it. It's great. Play 3. Next up, we got Future Visions. This is a field spell for the deck and is just absolutely amazing. I love it. So it's a field spell, obviously. When a monster is normal summon, remove from play that monster. During the next standby phase of the controller who summoned that monster, return it to the field in a face-up attack position. This card is one of the most annoying field spells to deal with, in my personal opinion. Okay, so you normal summon your monster, it gets banished right there. Okay, unless you have a follow-up play, that's basically the end of your turn. Depending on the deck, this can be one of the most annoying field spells to deal with. A deck that normal summons a lot or relies heavily on their first normal summon can get screwed over heavily thanks to Future Visions. It's absolutely wonderful. Also, because of the rollings and everything, if Future Visions leaves the field or gets replaced with another copy or something like that, your opponent does not get their monster back. because it's considered a different card or it's not there anymore. The card has to stay on the field, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize. I can't tell you how many times people have popped it and be like, "Hey, why don't I get my monster back?" I'm like, "Well, you don't. The card it has to be on the field still." This is a really good field spell overall. Helps trigger a Peace Screws effect, and also triggers, of course, your Fortune Lady Lights effect. Getting to this card as soon as possible is really imperative for the deck and getting it to work. Next up for the traps, we got Bending Destiny. Oh god, I almost forgot this thing was even a card. It's a counter trap. Activate only if all face-up monsters you control are Fortune Lady monsters. Negate the activation of a spell or trap card or the normal summon of a monster. And remove that monster from play, that card from play. The card removed from play by this effect is returned to its owner's hand during the end phase. Okay. This card is only useful if you're using it to negate the normal summon of a monster, and even then, Future Visions does it better. So, I'm not a big fan of this card at all. It's not searchable. It's not particularly great. You gotta control only Fortune Lady monsters, which, depending on your build, is maybe something that won't happen all the time. I can't recommend this card. It's not good. Moving on, Inherited Fortune. This is another one of their old traps, and was the better one of the two, and used to be played quite heavily for the deck, but nowadays not so much. Activate during the turn of face-up Fortune Lady monster you control was destroyed. Could be by battle, could be by card effect, doesn't matter. Special up to 2 Fortune Lady monsters from your hand during your next standby phase. So, I get it. The idea is that's because you're summoning them during your next standby phase, you can trigger their effects during the standby phase to increase their levels so that they get stronger. But, however, it's not particularly great that way. It's too slow, okay? Because you gotta wait till your next turn, which means you could be dead that turn. You probably are, honestly. Let's think about it. Oh, your opponent destroyed your Every, you activate this, you have 2 Fortune Ladies ready to go in your hand. You gotta wait till next turn. Oh, your opponent just OTK'd you. Okay. Yeah, this card's just okay. It's way too slow. I can't recommend playing it. It's not searchable well, it's not searchable at all. You could try and rely on drawing it, which, considering how much draw power this deck does have, it is something that might come up. But I can't recommend playing it. It's just not worth it. Especially not anymore. Maybe in a slow format, but not anymore. Especially since we got a better version. Fortune Lady Rewind. Hey, look at that. It's got Fortune Lady in the name, which means it's searchable. Normal trap card. Target any number of your banished Fortune Lady monsters with different names. Special summon them, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. You can only activate 1 Fortune Lady Rewind per turn. This card is a lot better. It's searchable. You grab any number of your Fortune Ladies from your banished zone as much as you want, and it just is basically just return from a different dimension. It's such a good trap card. I do recommend playing it as a 1 of, maybe as a 2 of. I could see people playing it as only because it does require a bit of setup, which, it's not hard to do, technically speaking, but it's also not the easiest thing to do, because honestly, most of the time you're returning your banished ones from the banished zone into your graveyard to draw 2 off of Fortune's Visions, so it's not the craziest thing in the world, and it does take up a while to get going. So I do only recommend playing it as a 1 of at the moment, until maybe we get some more Fortune Ladies that can banish themselves more reliably. It's really great following up with this tuner, though, I gotta say. Moving on, let's talk about some outside support. First and foremost, just about any generic spellcast support out there. There's a myriad of it out there. Most notably, the Link Monster that just came out for the spell counter deck and everything. That's okay for the deck as just a generic Link Monster. There's some others outside spellcaster support, but honestly, they don't mesh well with a lot of the outside spellcaster support, so it really comes down with a lot of tinkering. This deck does play as a control deck, so floodgates are a must. You know, anti-spell for well, maybe not anti-spell, but you know, stuff like what was it, Rivalry of Warlords, maybe anti-spell would work. You know, just general stuff like that. The deck plays slower itself anyways, so any kind of floodgate out there, hand traps, Called by the Grave is an absolute must, because getting ashed on your Fortune Lady Light sucks. And the big thing is that this deck actually works quite well with other archetypes. It doesn't work too well with outside spellcaster support, but it works really well with other archetypes, especially heroes most notably. The big thing is that with the Destiny heroes and heroes in general, you can even get more draw power thanks to D-draw and stuff. And then you can use Miracle Fusion to banish a Destiny hero, because Ab-Zero says any hero, not just the elemental hero. You can banish a Destiny hero and water to summon Ab-Zero, and then you can use Fortune Fission to return water to the graveyard to draw 2 more cards. There was actually a Fortune Lady deck that topped back in, I think, the Zexal format. It was either Zexal format or early Arc V format. I can't remember which. And it was a Fortune Lady Destiny hero deck. It did really well at a regional, but never really saw any more success after that. And basically, it was solely focused on just drawing an absolute buttload, taking advantage of future visions, and screwing over the opponent with trap cards, and just going for a lot of damage with Ab-Zero and everything. It was an insane deck, and I loved it. It was really, really good. And honestly, I'm trying to tinker around with it to make it kind of work with the new stuff, so it is something to consider. I just want to kind of throw out some more thoughts on this. The deck really needs more good monsters. A lot of the monsters are very dated and aren't as good as they used to be. And so I feel like they could really benefit from getting some more monster support. Maybe another trap card or two, especially since their trap lineup is so weak compared to their spell lineup. Maybe even a better version of Future Visions would be cool too, which would be great. I really wish they would get another Synchro or a Link or something, because being able to have more extract options in general would be really good for the deck. The deck never really had a focus on the extract, partly due to its level modulation thing. And then also, I'd really like to see the Earthbound be able to get used more in the deck, because really right now, the biggest issue is not being able to get the tribute fodder out for the deck, because typically speaking, you'd much rather go for other things. So maybe being able to incorporate Asclepiscu a lot better would be really good. So I don't know, it'd just be something that I would like seeing as like an attempt, kind of like what they did with the Sun and Moon Dragons, trying to work them in with the Earthbound Immortals a bit better as well. But that's just my kind of thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions on Fortune Ladies? I'm currently working on getting the cards I need for a deck profile and everything, so do look out for that. Also should be getting some dual replays coming out soon for the deck as well. But what do you guys think? Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. See y'all later. Peace out. And